It's November 15th, 2018, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
All right. Hello and welcome.
Kyle writes for beer.
Yeah, we'll get to all of this on the air. We'll get to all of it. We'll introduce everybody. Don't you worry. Hello and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you once again from the Co-Prosperity Sphere here in Bridgeport, Chicago. Thanks, as always, to Lumpen Radio, specifically Studio B, for having us on. You may hear a little bit of shindig going on in Studio A tonight. People having fun out there, so that's cool. Yeah, so, you know, it's always good to have kind of a raucous atmosphere. Makes for a slightly toasty Studio B, but, nothing we haven't dealt with in the past. But I want to thank everyone at Lumpen Radio for having us on. Specifically, if we have to get into specifics, I think I should thank the fearless leader, Mr. Logan Bay, for having us yet again. I also want to thank everyone out there listening on 105.5 FM over the airwaves, or if you're listening streaming, thank you as well. If you're listening live, you can hop into the live chat room over at Lumpen Radio. Check that out. More likely than not, you're listening via podcast, and I want to thank you as well for listening. If you're a regular listener, or if you enjoy this show, feel free to leave a review on iTunes or wherever it is. I think Stitcher is still having an issue, and I've been told it's Stitcher's issue. It's not ours for once. So maybe they'll get their act together and figure out our stream. But in the meantime, iTunes and all those other places are still the best place to get us if you listen to us via podcast. I want to mention, as I always do, for those of you who are listening for the first time, that the goal of this show is to open up a window into how the people making, selling, marketing, and facilitating the beer, getting into your glass, feel about the topics that are part of their everyday lives. Let me just make sure I actually have an undershirt. I don't just have an undershirt on. I'm unbuttoning my shirt right now because it's quite hot in here. And I've done it before and realized I had like a deep V undershirt on, and like I was like, oh, okay,
the
don't want to be doing that.
All nude review.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, that's what was happening. I just like to put my guests at ease. Some of them are nervous about, public speaking. I don't know if this is technically public speaking, but they say, pretend everyone's in their underwear. Yeah. So I do that.
If that's the kind of party that this is
Yeah.
We can get down.
Yeah, no, you guys go for it. I'm fine as I am, actually, but you guys are cool to do that. I'm sure the people looking through the window in Studio A would be like, all right, what kind of show is this? Bunch of, the neckbeards here. I don't know if that's exactly.
Beautiful humans is what I thought you were going to say. But honestly, nice humans was even, that was really nice.
Yes.
That was nice of you.
But anyway, I want to get back to what this show is really about, which is kind of what we were just talking about. People whom I like getting together and talking about beer. And it's just kind of fun. So we get a bunch of people who kind of live and breathe and everything beer, and get them to talk about what's going on in beer these days, because it's one of my favorite things in beer, and that's what this show tries to capture, just people who know beer talking about beer. So let's see if we can do that. Before I get to introducing my guests, which is going to be tricky this week, I have to mention that the opinions of my guests are their own and not the opinions of anybody else, any other entity that they may or may not be associated with. such as, but not excluded, but not limited to, Lumpen Radio. See, if I change anything, I botch it. That's why I have to read this exactly as it's written every time for 150 plus episodes. But anyway, their opinions are their own and nobody else's. So let me get to it. We always introduce people in order of seniority. Seniority being how many times they've been on the show. And I don't know literally who's been on the most or the least at all. Has anyone been on 5 times or more? Okay. Adi, okay.
Yeah, one of us.
Vav, why don't you start first? Mr. Adam Vavrick of the Publican group, or what's the Publican?
Empire.
Publican?
We modeled it off of the
Empire.
Ottoman Empire, and it's just kind of something we've been toying with, marauding and such. Hi, it's nice to see you. Thanks for having me down.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. What's new with you?
Same old stuff.
How was the 10th anniversary?
Still in the afterglow of that. 10th anniversary was really, really great. It was a really cool beer dinner that I got to drive with absolutely no voice after 3 nights of seeing Nine Inch Nails. And it went really well. It was kind of interesting to sort of see, all these people that I remember seeing around town when I first got into beer, 10 years ago, right around the time that Publican opened, and catching up with some of them, and they're like, wow, you work here now, and, things like that. But it was also sort of elucidating because of how many things have changed or stayed the same, how many things have changed as well. I mean, we got some really insane beer for this 10th anniversary, and I didn't advertise these beers at all. And they sat on the menu for an entire week after they were on, and that was great. Honestly, it was like I did that very much on purpose.
Did what? Didn't advertise.
I didn't advertise
specific
it.
beers.
I didn't talk about it. I didn't mention it to anybody. I mean, people would ask, be like, "Hey, do you have anything cool on tap?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've got Hill Farmstead Arthur on," and that
boring,
right? But I didn't advertise it, and it just sort of. The fact that it took a week was really gratifying because it means that people that came in either didn't care, which is awesome.
Is that gratifying? Is
it
that
kind
good?
of is.
Is that good?
It actually really is because
it is.
I don't necessarily need to. Anybody that's coming in freaking out about Hill Farmstead Arthur probably has 14 bottles of it in their basement, and so by specifically not catering to them, and I'm sorry guys, I love some of you.
I like how he qualified even that with some of you.
Well,
his qualification had a qualification.
I've never been one to not be honest about stuff. But anybody freaking out over that or the Cantillon or any of the other stuff would probably already has it and would consume it at a rate that while is great for sales and turn through, might not. I don't want to say it's appreciation, but it's nice to be able to have people come in and be like, I have no idea what this is, and not care.
Turn them on to it.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt ever and new again of like being in the aisles of Sam's, in 2009 with Cantillon on the shelf and people going like, I'm not spending $35 on a bottle.
Yeah.
And it was very gratifying for that.
Cool.
So it was very good. Thank you. I'll shut up so everybody else can
No,
talk.
what has not changed though?
What has not
You
changed?
said it's nice to see what hasn't changed, what has changed. Can you think of anything that hasn't changed?
Like in
necessarily?
Publican specifically, or
I don't know. You're just saying in the 10 years.
Just I guess the beer industry in general and the general. I mean, I don't know how to quantify everything. I do everything holistically. I don't even half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I know I'm going the right way. Mm-hmm. And I guess that sort of bore itself out. Things that didn't change were that I could tap a really cool Rauch beer that I made with Goose Island at Publican, and it sold because it's great. We made good beer together, and that was cool. And the fact that, Publican I don't do beer dinners because I think they're so, completely played out or whatever. But I did one, and it killed it because, the thought and attention to detail was there. And that's, it's such an old school 10-year-old mentality. I mean, when Publican opened, they were doing Sunday suppers as like an event, Mm-hmm. So it was kind of cool to see that sort of thing still be able to draw in a manner that I felt did a strong service to the programs, the partners, the concept, and I don't know, the respect of the ingredients, and I don't know, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been with Publican Group for like roughly half its lifespan.
Not even.
No,
I just.
it's 10 years in. You've
I'm
been
not
there
even
for
3 years.
Oh,
I
really?
started
Okay.
April 4th of 2016, so it'll be 3 years in April. But I mean, I used to go all the time.
Sure.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot to be said about things that have like influenced other things, and that it's just cool to be a part of. I'll just
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
No,
all.
that's good. That's good. Well, thanks for coming on. Next guest is Mr. Adi Hastings of Omega Yeast Labs. How are you?
I'm very well. Tired, but very well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tired for any reason? Just tired in
Just
general?
work has been crazy.
How is it the Christmas rush? Everyone trying to get in there.
Yeah,
Christmas
no,
gifts of yeast for the holidays.
December is actually usually our slowest month because people aren't buying beer, so brewers aren't brewing beer. This is also when all the brewers release their barrel-aged beer, which they bought yeast for months and months ago.
Right.
So it's crazy. We've had a slight increase in production, and every time that happens, it's sort of a cyclical thing where you get used to the current workload and adapt to it, and then all of a sudden you have like 25% more things to do, and
Yeah.
so it takes a little bit of adjusting.
And I heard that your Kvass yeast is your
Oh, the
number one.
Kvik.
Kvik.
Yeah.
Is your number one selling yeast now?
It's not.
One of them?
It's one of them, certainly. Yeah. We've been pushing that hard, partly because.
Is it your newest yeast?
No, it's not. We just introduced a Lithuanian farmhouse yeast that was 2 years in the making, trying to work out licensing deals.
Oh,
with
I thought that was I thought they were kind of the same thing.
No.
Okay,
Well, this
okay.
is so. I mean, this is similar to the Norwegian Kviks in
Yeah.
that it ferments hot. She pitches at like 34 degrees Celsius, and it's done in a couple of days. So, I mean, this is one of the reasons these have been quite successful is that brewers can turn around beers in less than a week.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
It makes us happy. And we're excited to experiment with it, but it's incredibly terrifying that you can turn around
Oh,
and turn with
it's
a week.
it's
We're so
absolutely
excited.
terrifying.
We're so excited to experiment with it, but we've been talking about this for like months now.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I mean it goes against everything that you know about
Yes.
how normal ale yeast operates. That if you take it over, I mean, 72 degrees with saison like Belgian strains, maybe like in the in 80s, 90s, it's
You're on mic.
it's really, but you knock out at 95 degrees and keep it warm. And the crazy thing is it produces no fusels where
We
most
don't need
other
glycol
things-
anymore.
Yeah, turn off your jackets. You don't need glycol. We've got an experiment going on right now. We brewed 10
A
gallons.
little bit of bass coming
Yeah,
through
there it
into
is. Well,
studio
we,
bass.
we brewed a beer, an imperial stout that is currently sitting at 18% and still fermenting. We'll see. We might have to back.
Made it
sweeten.
15 minutes, Steve. Well done.
Yeah, I know.
But
So how long would that normally take?
normally you wouldn't be able to do that at all. I mean,
Yeah.
most ale strains don't have that kind of alcohol tolerance. But otherwise, a couple of weeks, and then it would need a lot of conditioning time because it would be super hot and fusely.
Got it.
But this, it's. I mean, there's some alcohol burn. I took
Which
a
could be
sample today.
expected, yeah.
Once we take it up, we're gonna have to like put it on lock and key. Like, no, we don't want anyone drinking that during work hours.
So it's kind of hot. A little bit.
It's a little bit like alcohol in the back, but
'Cause it
like,
is,
Because it is, and we're hoping to hit like 20%, but we'll see.
Wow. All right, then. Well, thanks for coming on, Adi. My next guest, this isn't really in the normal order. I have no idea at numbers of times. We're all kind of in that middling range here. Mr. Carl Clockers, how are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful.
What's new with
How
you,
are you?
dude? Thanks for coming on.
Keeping busy. Doing a little more freelancing than usual. Usually most of my output is at the Guys Drinking Beer site, but been sending stuff to AskMen.com. Just did a couple things for Chicago Magazine. Got a thing coming out for a magazine in the western suburbs in a few weeks.
you are keeping
just
busy.
bouncing around. Anyone
Nice.
that needs a couple thousand words about beer, I'm generally here to help with that.
You're the one who they go to?
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Anything exciting that you're excited to write about or have written about, or I don't know, anything that people should be looking out for?
I mean, this will be the 6th year that we've written about Phobab
Okay.
this weekend, which is always at least mildly entertaining in my
Yeah.
experience. I haven't been to most of them, but I've been to a few of them, and I always find one or two things to tell people about. We'll see how much cake batter I can manage to drink on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, with
in
cake
about 48 hours from now.
It's funny.
we'll
You're
see.
not going to be able to drink as much as you think because all the lines to get the cake batter, where the other non-cake batter beers won't have lines, and you can get to them easy.
And they're the good beers.
Yeah, there you go. No, the ones with the lines are the ones that taste the best. Everyone knows that.
Well, I always start in the wild and cider room, or whatever that other room is.
Yeah.
I always start there, and then by the time that I get into the main room, everything that had a line is kicked, and everybody's wandering around looking for whatever the next big thing is going to be.
Yeah, it's funny. The Phobab, which is, for those out there who may not know, is Chicago's Festival of Barrel-Aged Beers, has become just a monstrous barrel-aged beer festival.
Do you know why that is?
Why it's become big?
Yeah, you said it's a big barrel-aged festival that's become really big about, barrel-aged beers, and I'm just wondering if you know why.
No, I don't know why. Anyway, one thing I also
I feel like it
don't
might
know-
have something to do with the fact that Chicago is a really big barrel-aged beer city.
Could be that.
It might have something to do with that.
Um,
Just a hunch.
Yeah, I think one thing I do know is that it's become a lot more sour than it used to be. It used to be a stout fest, and now it is a stout and sour fest. I'd say it's like 50-50 now. We're close to it,
There's
which
so
is
many
crazy.
good jokes in here.
Yeah.
Stoutfest, 50-50. I mean,
Yeah, there you go. Eclipsed. Stouts have been eclipsed.
nice.
Yeah. All the jokes that aren't funny but are just references to beer. We'll name them all. Anyway, thank you, Carl. We'll talk about Phobab in a little bit, but I want to introduce my final guests all the way up from St. Louis, the Kreiders, Libby and Steve. I'll introduce you guys as a team, but why don't you guys talk? Why don't you each talk? So why don't you go first, Steve? Speak into the mic.
And no cussing.
And no cussing, please.
Please.
Yeah, I know.
Please.
It's
That was
tough.
like a pleading please.
Yeah, I know.
I said like please, and she was like, please.
Yeah.
What's new, man? What's up with you?
We're finally starting up production. Finally, we got our own canning line, and we're getting to make more beer. Finally, I've been.
Oh, were you guys doing mobile canning?
Yeah, we mobiled for a year and a half,
yeah,
maybe.
a little while.
Moved out for 7 years. I was out in the country. Moved into a new place. Moved to the city.
When did you move into the city?
About right at 2 years ago now, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Started mobile canning right about then, and really started up in production and started trying to make more beer to send more beer to places we want to go. Like here, number
Cool.
one. I mean, we left St. Louis and shipped beer to the Chicago area, and then her mom and dad moved to the Philadelphia area, and now we send beer there.
Oh, nice.
And then we're going to send
like
beer
both
to
those
Europe a little bit
cities.
because we have to go to Europe now to go check on accounts. It's going to be horrible, you know. Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
horrible. Yeah.
Where? Paris?
No,
and-
they cover everywhere, but a lot of Scandinavian countries that we've quickly,
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, and they're going to send beer
That's
to
the big
Hungary
one.
and Sweden and Just yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
That's awesome.
It's fun. It's making beer. Yeah.
Awesome. And Libby, what's new with you?
Just trying to keep the tasting room up and running. We are reaching our 2-year anniversary of the tasting room, which is in 2 weeks. December 3rd will be the 2-year anniversary of us actually being able to serve people beer, and 9 years of producing beer next year, which is a little insane to me. That
Wait, yeah, 9 years?
9 years. Second
Congratulations.
Second shift is doing 9 years next year.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I'm gonna get a tramp stamp on year 10.
Stop it. Stop.
You heard it here.
No.
If you say it on the air, I think it's legally. I think it's legally binding.
Legally, you can be executed as a la Logan's Run
Yeah.
if you don't comply with things you
I've
say
been
on the radio.
officially on board with Second Shift for 7 of those 9 years, and I'm pretty proud of where we have gone and where we've been, and super excited to see what it brings to us. Like, obviously, you've seen us metamorphosize from our 750 milliliters down to 375 milliliters. There's obviously the new packaging metamorphosis that's happening in the industry, especially with off-color. God, love you, John Lafler, with the tiny little bottles.
Yeah, so for those out there who may
Yeah.
not know, Off Color recently introduced 4 packs of, like 330 or 237?
They're
or-
8.5, so I think they're 7.
They're
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 little
330
bottles.
milliliters.
CL,
Yeah,
I
they're
think.
tinies.
European style,
Yeah.
like some of the European, like
Yeah.
golden ales or
Thomas Hardy's used to be packaged in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
other little tots like that.
Yep.
But it's making it more approachable to people, whereas
What's the serving
not
size
the-
you want
the
for those
serving
beers?
size you want. Yeah, you don't just save it for a special occasion anymore, and that is what has become kind of the norm for us. Is that we used to be a brewery that you save for a special occasion, and now we want to be the brewery that you enjoy every day. So you metamorphosize with that, and now we're doing 16-ounce cans for certain beers and mostly 12-ounce cans, and we're evolving, and it's really exciting to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love the soundtrack that we have.
Yeah, boom,
Um,
boom, boom.
I will.
Can you hear it in the background?
Maybe.
Just,
Yeah,
a little
probably.
bit, little
Yeah.
rumble.
There is an extra set of headphones if anyone wants them.
Yeah, they're not plugged into anything.
Oh.
Tonight's episode is entitled "Technical Difficulties."
Yeah.
Here, Adam.
Technical fine. That's a good. I mean, we all love God here.
Where's our Pilsner?
Yeah. So I'd say. So let's try to get to, instead of like what beers have we had lately. Is everyone going to Fobab?
No.
No. Okay.
Yes.
You are. Okay. So, Adam, you'll just have to guess. Is there any beer that you're excited to try at Fobab this year that you're, looking forward to trying? Anyone? I'll give you some time to think it over. Carl?
I haven't
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the list of who's attending. I honestly don't know who's going to be there. I have an idea of the usual people that are going to be there, but I generally prefer to go into Fobab with just kind of like a whatever happens is going to happen sort of mentality. And if I find some winners, then great. If I waste calories with a few clunkers, then that just sort of happens, and I tend to survive it.
Yeah. Okay. Adi, anything for you?
Well, if it's anything like last year, I'll probably spend most of my time in front of the Jester King.
Getting some
and-
Spawn.
Yeah, which everyone goes for the fruited, whatever fruited beers they bring, but the Spawn, I was just sort of standing in front of the table there asking for more.
What's up, Adam? Anything?
Didn't we have that Spawn in Denver? Didn't they have that on at Schottenfest? I feel like
Yes.
they had that.
Yes, they
which
did.
was outstanding.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. If you were going to Fobab, Adam, what beer would you want to try?
If I were going to Fobab, I would put a solid bit of money down on saying that Metropolitan Brewing might have a barrel-aged version of their generator that I bet would be absolutely fantastic with all kinds of toffee notes and things like that.
Cool. Steve and or Libby, anything?
Adam, you stole my response.
Oh, that's fine.
Metropolitan was going.
We are so insane.
Metropolitan was
Budweiser.
going to be my.
There you go.
Metropolitan
BA
was going to be my response on what they did. I was actually going to say, like, we are super fans of Metropolitan and of the non whiskey barrel, rye barrel, seeing something like the spawn of the Jester King kind of. This is my first FOBAB.
Oh,
We've sent
cool.
beer 3 years now, but this is my actual first year attending, so I'm actually kind of
Cool.
excited to see. I mean, despite what my husband describes as the fart-smelling floor, but
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
you're not wrong at all.
No, it's true.
FOBAB's also interesting because it's one of the few places that you get to see brewers actually just completely ripping drunk. You don't see that at most of the industry, or like most of the events that lots go to. FOBAB's, yeah. I had one bite me
more
on the head one
celebratory.
time. Like, yeah.
For me, I always look for the one beer that, or the beer that I have is the most sessionable. There's usually not many of them. I mean, even like Generator, like BA Generator, would not be necessarily sessionable, but there's usually a couple that are not so sour or so alcoholic that you can't just like crush them, but they're hard to find. But I usually try to find one or two, and then like every fifth beer will be that beer, and I'll just go back to it. Last year it was something from True Brewing that was like a 4.5% dry hopped, lightly tart beer that was awesome. And the year before that it was Lake Effect, had that that dry hop beer they do for the Arboretum that was just killing it. So that's what I'm looking for.
I'd like to amend my statement.
Okay.
After last year's FOBAB, Josh from the Trib wrote a big story about pastry stouts, and in the wake of that, someone tweeted something about making a beer called "Noel Will Hate This." So I have kept that going as a running joke for the last roughly 360 days. Anyone that actually shows up and serves a beer called Noel Will Hate This, presumably laden with as many adjuncts as you can jam into a barrel, that is where I will be heading first.
Okay. Cool. My guess is a beer called Noel Will Hate This. I will also hate, so I won't be running towards that.
Says the guy who hosted an event where you could literally put marshmallows and
Mrs. Butterworth.
and Mrs. Butterworth and
I had-
everything into the stout of your choice.
I had just
For-
gotten
for the
over
record.
this, so really I don't feel good about.
So actually,
that back up.
so we're National Pastry Day. I've been waiting for this all year. It's December 9th, and we're doing it again in Mars. Unane, Jerry Nelson, and Microphone Brewing are going to all be in the house, and they're all going to be making their own pastry creations.
Yeah.
And having fun. So there'll be details about that, but we're very excited because I figured, let's see what these professionals can do to perfectly good beer.
Yeah.
So, so that'll be fun. I think it's about time to do some station promos. What do you think? Yeah, probably. So why don't we step aside and let you guys listen to some of the other programming that is on offer here at Lumpen Radio, and then we will come back after that with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn. I lost my train of thought from the music. It's in my head, man.
You're going to start speaking in rhythm
Yeah.
by the end of the show.
I am Chris Quinn. That's where I was at, yeah. And I am joined by my guests. Now it's just Carl and the Kreiders. But Carl and the Kreiders, it sounds like that could be a band or something like that.
They're like a 1970s sitcom of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. And here comes Vav. I'm sure Adi will be back soon. But anyway, why don't we talk? Well, we talked a little bit about FOBAB, but I thought it might be interesting having some brewers on. A long time, you're now a publican, Adam, but before that you were a long time retailer, as well as a reporter. If there is such thing as rare beer season, I think we're kind of like knee deep in it right now, especially in the Chicago market with Black Friday coming up. And
I've heard of that.
Yeah, Black Friday is a day where beers get put out. It's interesting. I think that it's always been an issue or something to think about is how do you dole out your beers to accounts, and that's something that I kind of take very seriously for multiple reasons. Having a tap room and a bottle shop myself, and I just wanted to kind of throw it out there and see, if anything has changed with how people are allocating beers or figuring out who gets rare beers. Because, I think it's something that also the beer drinkers out there are probably interested in too is, where's this rare beer going to be? Because, I know, Adam, you were saying that you were kind of happy that you didn't announce anything and it just kind of went, appreciated for what it is, just I'm going to go here and have good beer. But there's other times where, there's people who are looking for certain beers and want to be able to go find them. And I think it's, you're doing people a service as a retailer to have these beers for them, and it's nice to have them too because it's kind of in and out really quick, and that's nice. But I think it's getting more and more difficult we talk about the crowded market all the time, but I think this is just one more area that is just, I don't know, I think becoming a little bit more, a little different. So, Goose Island, the Black Friday brewery, they kind of started this in a lot of ways, but it was all distributed, right?
They did?
Well, it was started with them and others. But now it's tap rooms, I think, are getting the beers tend to be released tap room exclusive for the most part. Like,
well,
for
yeah,
example,
they get the most money back for them. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, like, Benthic is having a release from Half Acre straight from the tap room tomorrow. But there's still things that are changing, I don't know. It's still, some of it's kind of getting to distro. I don't know, kind of rambling now.
Yeah. How do you do it, Chris? Because normally we kind of go around and then you kind of weigh in. Put you in the hot seat since you're sort of the active reseller.
Please do.
Or not reseller, but active retailer at the moment, handling a lot of this stuff. And obviously, I have my own opinions, but I don't want to talk about this for 20 minutes. So, what are you doing in order to kind of spread it out? And how do you figure out who gets the beer and who doesn't? Do you have a system in place for tracking purchases?
Are you
getting
getting what you feel is a fair amount, considering
Right.
the amount of
allocation
attention you
too.
pay to beer in general?
So for us, like Tuesday night beer and pizza purchases are a bigger percentage of what we do than the big releases. That would kind of like make the month for us. Like, oh, we're going to get 15 cases of this, and that'll be really nice for us, or something like that. I think those days are kind of gone for the most part. There's some exceptions to them. Even Bourbon County now has Prop Day. So most of the beer is now being released directly from Goose Island, and I think obviously there's advantages to the supplier for that. They make the most money because they're not getting, they get the retailer's cut and the wholesaler's cut, but they also can control the experience as well. So it's not just about that, I think it's good for them on multiple levels as they can engage with the consumers directly. I think the consumers honestly prefer to do it that way. They prefer to go to the source and get it. It feels more special to them. So for us, it's been, fewer and far between and just kind of nice when it does happen.
But how are you allocating that to the people, and how are you handling it?
Almost always it goes on the shelf and goes. And then maybe we'll hold a case back to put out on the shelf another time. Or now, honestly, we might hold a case and a half back. Half of it goes to the tap room in the bottle list. Half of it just goes back there for us to put out whenever we want, and the rest just goes. That's kind of how we've always done it.
So you don't care. You're not paying attention to the, you're not looking at previous
We care.
purchases. No. Okay, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
You're not hung up on the metrics of who's coming in to purchase it. You're not looking at the shopping cart and saying this person spent X amount this year versus this person who spent, nothing this year. I'm going to give them an equal chance. You're just kind of putting it out with little to no
Well,
hype. People know it. Like people
yeah,
know when
I
things
hear
are
ya.
coming out.
The plan
I guess
had-
that's the question.
The plan for us had always been, we have this loyalty program we rolled out, and we wanted to have tiers where if you were like a regular customer, it wouldn't be too difficult for you to get to a level where, we would take maybe 75% of the beer and just first come, first serve. That second 25% would be in a batch for only people in that tier, which doesn't ensure you get one, but you're fighting with less people to get one. And then after 3 days, then that also goes on the shelf. So trying to help everyone, but maybe having you compete with fewer people. We haven't rolled it out just because we're doing other stuff. We're just busy still setting up even after a year. But that's what we wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember very distinctly when you were starting, I think you were maybe like year one or like maybe year one into it. I saw you get kind of grumpy about allocation stuff pretty publicly, and I remember sending you a message being like, "You're finally reaching my level of jadedness when it comes to doling these things out." And the big takeaway here for anybody who's listening that might be doing this kind of stuff is that there is no good answer. You will never satisfy everyone. There will always be a complaint.
Yes.
There will always be a sense of, well, I didn't get my fair shake, and all these other things. And in order to kind of really do this effectively, you just have to let that go and realize that. And you're gonna make it at some point. You're gonna make somebody mad enough that they're not gonna come back. And what I think a lot of the general consumer populace doesn't seem to understand is that we as retailers, and I am still a retailer at Publican, we stress about these things because we don't want to make anybody happy. None of us like saying no, but at the end of the day, we're sort of put in this position in which there's only a small amount to go around, and it has to go somewhere, and its limited nature means that not everybody's going to get it.
Can I add as a wholesale?
All right. One for the Criers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cuss tonight.
Yeah, right.
Throw it in there.
So there was a recent blog post that I am forgetting, and it was been in my brain all night, and I'm having a blank moment about the death of the cool. Out of,
Oh, it was the Falling Rock.
The Falling Rock.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Chris's thing, yeah.
Chris's blog really, really, really spoke to me.
Can you
read
talk a little? I'm ignorant of it. Could you guys just give some background?
The death of the cool basically was a background of, from what I understood, of retailers that stood by, breweries that were always rewarded with those allocations of beers that instead now get only on-site releases in short terms. I'm very, very quantifying in
Well, I wish I had read this
quotations.
prior to this topic.
It was
Pull it up. The internet's right there.
It was a really moving article that I shared with everybody that we work with, and in fact changed our motivation in distribution. Instead of doing just on-site releases, actually motivated us to do more distribution of allocated items. But his article basically brought up about why would we show loyalty to these breweries that we have shown loyalty to before, that all of a sudden have shown promise, that have shown this fanfare, that all of a sudden they're going to forget about us and we're going to do only on-site releases, that we're going to make the money only, and we're going to forget all these people that supported us to make them what they were. And that hit home with us as being in our 9th year, only 2 years of having a tap room. We had 7 years of distribution only, and we took a step back. took a step back from our tasting room only releases and decided that we would do half only tasting room releases and half of it would go to distribution.
Wow.
As a thank you to those retailers that made us what we were. That was a really moving article, and Chris from Falling Rock, I commend you for that article and thank you for shaking me up. So
Yeah, it was a little bit of like a drawing a line in the sand
Yeah.
and saying like right now we're in a place where breweries can either go it alone, more or less, or they can be part of this ecosystem where bars and restaurants and tap rooms all kind of like coexist. Because I think a lot, it has a lot to do with what I've heard Michael Roper say, sitting right here talking
Owner
about
of the Hop Leaf here in Chicago.
tap rooms, and the number of drinkers aren't increasing. So, how you support people has changed a lot in the last 3-4 years.
Yes, I think that's entirely right. I was hoping to kind of get around to that from what you were saying, Adam, and that's kind of what I was talking about. Was now how do breweries reward retailers in an age where I think brand loyalty is certainly, I don't know if it's at an all-time low, but if not, it's pretty low right now. I would say, a lot of people are just want to try different things all the time, or are looking at ratings or something like that, or just want to go out and whatever's good. But, and there's some people who are going to be loyal to certain brands, but I don't think it's certainly, especially strong right now. So how do you reward retailers who have,
Make them money.
well, the other thing is, but the retailers played a part in this, and one of the someone I think on this show mentioned one time that there were some, certainly not all, breweries who felt like, well, we are fighting for tap handles all the time and then losing them and trying to, because everyone's just rotating through them. We needed a place where we could have some steady handles and do our own thing.
Sounds like John Barley, and he's right.
Right.
Or whoever said that is
Right.
definitely right.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth,
Yeah.
but
If I'm wrong, John, I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
I feel like I remember listening to that. And whoever said it is not wrong. And there's something to be said for the fact that, as soon as we hit that sort of apex when it came to market saturation and the saturation of also not only beers available but places to drink them. I mean,
Right.
The tap room to the tavern to the restaurant. That's like, everybody has it. At some point, it just becomes a little bit less special. And this is something I said in an interview earlier today. Is that craft beer is sort of becoming window dressing in a way. It's becoming this background thing that we're all just sort of assuming.
an assumption, yeah.
Yeah, that
Which
is
is
being
good in a
consumed.
way.
It's great. It's everything we've been fighting with. They've been fighting for the past 9 years. It's everything I've been fighting for the past 10 years. It's what Ken Grossman's been fighting for 35 years or whatever. Like it's a very good thing. But what that means is that it is the death of cool. It is the lack of the luster that makes it just that slightly less important. And that means you've penetrated to the mainstream where somebody can find something else to enjoy because they've now got their thing and they're happy. The retail partner sharing, I think that you guys are doing, especially with releases, is incredible.
That
and I
is
think
incredible.
that's going to win you a lot of goodwill. And one of the age-old things in this industry is that it is a relationship-based business, and it comes straight out of AB's playbook. But you make friends, not sales.
Exactly.
And if you're taking care of your retailer and saying, you know what, we made X amount of this beer, I'm going to send you a little bit, or maybe do you want to do a release for it or whatever. That's going to get you so much more goodwill when it comes to thoughts about, if it's off-premise, thoughts about sets and coolers, or, what am I going to stack this week, or anything like that, or on-premise. Maybe I am rotating, and I do rotate all the time, but maybe my IPA line will go to you this time for the next month and a half or 2
When I
months.
started this brewery, whatever it was, 2009, got the first beer out in tin. I was wholesale only for years and years. I didn't have a tasting room. I didn't have a bar or whatever you want to call it. Had to get a distributor. And I've met with every distributor I've ever sat down with at the big walnut table. I can't say it now, but I tell them who they are. My salesman is Chris. It's a guy. It's the guy at the store. It's the guy at the bottle shop. It's the bartender behind the bar. they are selling my beer more than I am. I met my wife walking into a good wine bar in St. Louis with a keg on my shoulder. I used to deliver all my, I self-distributed for a short time, pain in the butt.
Well done.
But
Well
yeah,
done on the
but
choice of wording there.
No, I know. I had to think about that for a second. But I never went in and dropped off a keg and signed a paper and left. I was in there 30 minutes or an hour, and I lost $20 to $30 every single time, not including the gas. I was going negative all the time, but I built relationships, and all these retailers and bars or whatever where I was going, they still remember it. They still talk about it. They still love that, and I still love doing that. I still love going to those places.
Honestly, I heard about you and your reputation really at the same time I'd ever heard about Second Shift. It was really about, the Kreiders and Second Shift. Honestly, is even up in Chicago how it was first talked about was you as a person was in, like, if not the same sentence, the next sentence. So it even kind of made its way up here to Chicago. So it's kind of
our
cool.
reputation is our beer, and it's not for everybody, and we understand that. But I remember Kreider walking into the bar that I worked at and had a half barrel over his shoulder.
A half barrel.
No.
Whoa.
Empty.
It was a Perkins. No, I'm not that strong.
Yeah. But it was that is our dream. It is not everybody's, but there's been this recent dialogue I've seen on Twitter of people leaving cushy comfort jobs to start a brewery and about how hard it is, and people don't realize that, like, not everybody leaves a cushy corporate job to start a brewery. Steve started a very, very basic brewery after leaving a steel mill with nothing, and started Second Shift from nothing. So
There was a time in about like 2015 or 2016 where my usual refrain was, "Oh, we want to start the first thing everyone says after they say I want to start a brewery is I left my job in finance."
yeah, exactly.
But the other thing that's interesting is that we're talking about the point where things aren't cool anymore, and I feel like right now we're really close, if not there already, to the point where we have so much. Maybe this is just me sitting here from a Chicagoan's perspective, but we have so many options for, barrel-aged beer with a bunch of stuff in it that, like, I would not be surprised to find that the line at Binny's the day after Thanksgiving is shorter this year than it was last year, which it would be the first time in forever that actually happens
every year. Yeah,
because I think at this point most everyone in Chicago knows that you can get Bourbon County pretty much whenever you want it. You don't have to try that hard. So, the people that are lining up are the people that need to ship it to somewhere else and flip it for something.
You can go buy cases of last year's at the local Puerto Rican grocery store by my house.
Yeah, mine too. Yeah, I saw it on the shelves, and it's $9.99, $11.99. It's just it's a commodity in Chicago. So maybe that's just an embarrassment of riches on our part. But I don't think it's that far off.
Yeah, I don't think I think those generally can be good things that you can get Bourbon County all year. I think that's kind of cool. I will say that as a retailer, to kind of sum this up, and if we keep talking about it, that's also fine. But we have talked about. In terms of the death of the cool, which I like that little, is that a Miles Davis reference?
We have some real like insiders roundtable after dark music going on.
Yeah, right.
it's great.
So I would say, we have talked about, do we focus more on out of market breweries now than local breweries, because local breweries are pulling in, I feel, a little more. And
or maybe this is when imports start to come back.
Yeah,
Yes,
same
I've been
thing.
saying that for a while now.
Same thing. I mean, to me, there's so much great beer, and there's plenty of there's plenty of tap rooms that are just rocking and rolling here in Chicago, and I mean, that's good. I mean, it's good for them. I like their beer. But if we're going to put on 20 taps, maybe there's some great beer that people could maybe be introduced to there as well.
I'll make a prediction, as we like to do, because you
Yeah.
usually do the predictions, but I'll make a prediction. I would say in the next 18 months or so, and we can look at this on IRI data, I bet in the next 18 to 26 months or so, you'll see SKU reduction in a very large way. I think you'll start to see wholesalers start slimming down their portfolios
Oh, it's
significantly.
already happened.
Well, it
Oh,
is,
yeah.
but we've sort of bounced back because the new styles are starting to pop through, like Veeks.
We're sort of plateaued. At this
Right, we
point.
sort of plateaued. I bet it drops, and I bet it drops significantly. What were we putting?
Oh, I think I'm the tip of the iceberg there, Adam, because
Yeah.
I'm seeing where that stuff starts because we focus on the most esoteric stuff. And I don't mean the most. That's not to say the most rare stuff. The most rare stuff they'll bring in. The distributors will bring in because it goes in and out. I'm talking about the hard sell, esoteric stuff. To me, the really neat, cool, interesting stuff you have to hand sell. It happened about a little less than a year ago. Some distributors, mainly the big ones, the ones who the red houses and the blue houses, just started saying no. We're not bringing this in. I was like, what do you mean no?
Well, they've been
I
doing
want
that for a
this-
really long time,
Yeah.
but it comes
Here.
in cycles. It comes in cycles.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, I guess I don't want to name any names, but you look at some of the breweries that are available that are from California that have decent longevity and are with good distributors that have 14 IPAs on the shelf right now, and part of it is just that throw everything against the wall and see what sells, and then make that again next year, and market it differently. Be like, "Ooh, it's such a hit, we're gonna do it again," kind of thing. And it's sort of
Or the opposite is now happening, I think, where you make the same beer over and over and over again. You switch up a hop or two, give it a different name,
Yep.
and just keep getting that little
It's
incremental
another way of-
boost, which
well-
I think is
Yeah, I agree.
You know.
But I mean, we're actually talking about two different breweries, but we're both not. We're both correct. But I don't know where to go with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even scarcity as a commodity is no longer really that scarce.
Oh,
and I know
yeah.
I'm sitting here saying that like we're all kind of over it, and this thing is going to drop off when we live in a world when More Brewing can post a photo to Instagram and have a 300-person deep line outside their front door within 15 minutes. But like, but my question to you is like, are you still seeing people like chasing trucks and things like that? Is that still are people still doing that, or is that really kind of died off? I really
They're
feel
going
like it's kind of
to the tap rooms.
People are still
Yeah.
doing that.
yeah.
They're going
They
to the tap
absolutely
rooms.
are still doing that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah, yeah.
fewer beers they're doing it for. I'd say
Okay.
there's maybe
Okay.
a couple beers a year for. I'd say maybe you get like some of the limited bourbon counties. Maybe, there's not much after that.
Because
I mean,
another
Big hugs.
dose of anecdotal evidence is that like I was talking with a friend who has gone to the CBS release this year and last year, and he said this year it's like crickets compared
Yeah.
to last year
Yep.
because it wasn't 6-8 years between making it. It's just okay, it's back, okay, no big deal.
Yeah. Now, I will say where I'm seeing it the most acutely, the drop off is sour beers. I mean, there are better sour beers being made in America now than ever. And talk about crickets. I talked last week about how I was dumbfounded that I was at the map room and there had been a Cool Ship Red event where it was on draft. I think that's Adi, back me up. I mean, that's, I think, a truly an important American beer.
No. I had a prior obligation that night, but like I would have been there like otherwise. Because
So it was on at Kuma's. They were, I think, maybe the first place to ever have it on. It's still on right now. It's still on.
Phenomenal beer.
It's phenomenal. It's like
I know where I'm
it's-
going on Saturday.
right, but it's like it's.
Yeah.
There are few beers that are like truly like, whoa! Like to me, that is like a Spawn level beer, and it's just on draft for a week.
Yeah,
I've not had
that's
the
same
beer.
with my-
So let me ask you this: is
Yeah.
the beer super sour?
No,
That's a problem. There you go. It's got to hurt.
that's your problem.
I know I don't understand this, but yeah, if it's not the most aggressive, mean, burn your teeth off sourness, it can't be good beer.
No, this is definitely like like people talk about
Dynasty
hop
type of
fatigue. Like there's palate fatigue where
Yeah.
like people like cannot. I mean they want to know the pH and they want to have it like be below 3.2 or something.
They also
and
want to
it's-
age 2 years. They want to blend it between a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, but not have it be alembic. They want to have it certain. They want to know the origin of this child that they're going to buy. But
Well, they want it to hold its value.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean the Cantillon St. Laminus Grand Cru I had on lasted a week and 2 days.
Oh my god!
Right? I think they only made maybe a half a pallet of those kegs, but a week and 2 days. It was glorious. It made me so happy. But
Yeah.
I also wonder, and this came up today in that interview I did, but like, I wonder if the whole pastry stout phenomenon is a reaction to bitterness and sour.
Yeah.
Right? So you think about, and I kind of went through these motions today, so it's sort of in my head, but like,
And the hazies too.
and the hazies, the original craft beer IPAs of bitterness of that like Cascade and Centennial hop business was a reaction to bland, right? And then so you add bitter, and then you suddenly added malty, and so all the imperial stouts started popping up and all that. Then sour started kicking through, and then it went back to bitter again, to where it was like super ridiculously bitter, and then also it was like hop flavor and became juicy. So it was all those tropical characteristics, but without bitterness. And now we've sort of reached the everybody's kind of tired of the sour thing. I think you're totally right, and I think you're right about that. And so now it's back to, well, what's the opposite of that? It goes to sweet.
Yeah, I'm not. I hear what you're. It's an interesting idea that it's a reaction. I don't tend to think it's a reaction more than it is people like sweet things, and now they're realizing
Soda
that,
pop, yeah.
that they
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
put in these juicy
But-
hop flavors that maybe weren't around 5 years ago.
Yeah, but the American palate has also, and I'm speaking specifically about America here. I don't know about everybody else, but like
America.
specifically, yeah, right. In America, the American palate has changed drastically in the past 15 years when it comes. I mean, if anybody who's read Michael Pollan will know this, the palate for food and for the acceptable tolerance levels of bitterness and things like kale or greens or aperitifs or Negronis, and how all these bitter things are more interesting and more readily accepted by Americans is astronomically different from the way it was when any of us in this room were growing up. The food was generally either bland or sweeter, saltier, or fatter, but it was definitely not more bitter. And that bears itself out in the culinary world and chef culture and
Maybe
all that
like
stuff. But it
uber
has-
high end.
No, I don't think so. I really. How many people do you know drink kale smoothies?
How many
kale
people
sucks,
do
man.
you
It's
know?
really bitter. It's
how many
disgusting.
people do you know? I mean, what about the numbers for like diabetes? How about let's talk about that growth?
Well,
Because I bet you that's grown even more than the love of bitter things. I mean, people they want to drink chocolate, man.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
that's true.
They want their dessert. That's what I was joking with Josh Noel on Twitter today. I said, we're just headed towards everything being a dessert beer. Do you want a tropical smoothie dessert, or do you want an indulgent chocolate dessert? That's when you go to a bar. Those are your options. And obviously that's, I'm joking there, but I mean, those are the two biggest trends in beer right now is sweet IPAs, these milkshake IPAs, or even these hazy beers that can be very sweet without them being milkshake IPAs, and pastry stouts.
What is
those?
it?
Are the, yeah,
I don't know, Barry. What the hell?
that's cool.
How's that?
You're all
Yeah, I
good.
made you jump.
You're all good.
I was careful there. What is? I don't know what a pastry stout means. I really don't understand.
Sure. Well, that's a good point. I mean,
Chris is an expert on
a
these.
proto. I am not a proto pastry stout, but I would say maybe not would be like Abraxas. I'm thinking of St. Louis.
Oh, sure.
But it's more like these
Adjunct.
adjunct, but sweet adjunct. So like
Lots of chocolate, lots of vanilla,
Strawberry.
maple,
s'mores,
Yes.
marshmallow.
So I've done it.
Any
Yeah.
any
Chocolate
sort of
cake.
No, we
chocolate
have-
cake, breakfast cereal,
Yeah.
fried chicken.
Yeah. Burgers and fries.
cereal?
Yeah.
yeah, they're beers that are modeled after sweet desserts, essentially,
All right.
Which I feel like
and are out of balance. They're not like
Yeah.
not Baker's chocolate. It's melted Hershey's
Yeah.
syrup. if that makes sense.
Candy
you know?
bars.
I've actually done that before, yes.
I'm sorry, Libby. I totally cut you off.
No. We have not done this as a brewery, but we're not any sort
do it.
of.
Oh, come on. If they want to do it, do it.
All right, we'll
No,
do it. but I'm not
we're
buying it.
we're not purists by any means. We'll experiment, but the adjunct style is definitely something that our brewery is new to. I mean, we've done a maple barrel aged stout, but we've actually been purists, where it's been barrel aged with maple syrup. We've done
Totally,
vanilla
yeah, which-
beans. I think that I love my husband more than I can ever vocalize on air, but he is he's an old school guy. He is an American IPA guy. He doesn't really understand what pastry stout means, what a lactose IPA is.
You should be drinking a beer and go, this beer's good. Or, this beer might have cinnamon in it. Or this beer might have vanilla in it. You should never go, this chocolate syrup has beer in it.
Yeah.
We have completely come around from I think it's a line in Tasting Beer by Randy Mosher, which is if you can taste any one ingredient out in front of anything else, the beer is wrong and it's out of balance.
Yes.
We have completely done a full 180 from that to
Yep.
the point where if you can actually taste the beer underneath the marshmallow puree and the peach rings, you've done something wrong.
Well, it's funny. When CBS came out last year, there were a lot of guys who had gotten into craft beer, a lot of people, a lot of folks who have gotten into craft beer since it had been out previously. And it was this kind of legendary maple stout. And it is exactly what you were talking about, Libby, where it's a bourbon barrel that also had maple syrup aged in it. And since then, we have some here. There's been a lot of maple stouts where people are putting in either actual maple syrup or imitation maple syrup. They're just dumping syrup into the beer.
And Eggos
Yeah.
and
Yep.
waffle bits and
So,
Yeah.
and people are there's a very vocal subsection of craft beer drinkers who love those beers, and so when some of those people have a chance to try something like CBS, they were disappointed. And I was talking to him at the bar, this one gentleman at the bar, and he's like, I had CBS. I was really disappointed. It was a shame. I'd been really looking forward to this beer. I'd heard about it for so long. Just wasn't enough maple in it. And I was talking about what these barrels were. Like, it's supposed to be a hint of maple.
Yes, absolutely.
It's supposed to be a hint of maple.
Yeah, also maple's a sugar, and so that ferments.
It's a
out.
fermentable, exactly.
Like,
It goes
it's
away.
Oh my gosh.
if you're getting like lots of maple flavors because they added like fenugreek or something.
Yes,
Something, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a fermentable. Please appreciate the fact that this brewery took the time to make sure that the lab went sure that all the fermentables were aged out, that you got this hint of maple, that it wasn't going to make your beer blow up in your face. Like, oh my gosh.
And to a certain extent, like, I get it. Like, when I was 6 months into figuring out what kind of beers I really liked, I probably would have told you that my favorite beer in the world was Devil Dancer, which is a
Yeah.
triple IPA
Oh, I
and
missed that.
Yeah.
and 120 IBUs or whatever it is. And there's a certain period of time where everybody goes through where it's just more is better. And we're at this really weird point right now where, the people sitting in this room did that like 10 years ago. And now we're in like the get off my lawn version
Yeah.
where it's like,
Oh,
Give me a saison or give me death.
yeah, get out of here with your
Yeah.
I like all my
sweet
beers dry and bitter.
Well, but here's
Like my
the-
soul.
So all of us saying this, here's one major counterpoint to this, which is hard to easily refute. So Fobab has a lot of very skilled professional beer people who judge for them, right? The Best in Show last year
I've never been
was
invited.
more brewing. Right. Well, that aside, there are still some people out there other than you who know who are able to taste beers and the more brewing barrel-aged henna, which is, I think, by all, in all regards, a pastry stout to end all pastry stouts, and everyone talks about how it tastes like you're drinking Hershey syrup. I've never had it, but this is what people are talking about. It won not only gold in its category, it won best in show across all of FOBAB. So there's something to be said about the deliciousness of these types of beers, even if it's in small quantities or a lot of quantities. But hey, I mean, we can all poo-poo this stuff, but I mean, hey, the judges blind picked a pastry stout. I'm sure there were some people who were pretty frustrated that they picked it, but they did. So, you know, touche to.
I love the last time we were here. It was a fight about the cloudy, hazy, ugly IPAs, and now it's about the pastry stuff.
Nothing has changed. In other
No,
words.
it's it's seasonal. I love it. Yeah.
I think it's about.
at least
yeah.
we're not talking about not your father's root beer anymore.
Oh
Yeah.
God! High five.
Yes.
We've made some progress in the
Yes.
world.
Now, if you did a history of pastry stouts, I think that would deserve maybe not a chapter, but a paragraph. I think Not Your Father's was the first super duper.
That was the shot across
sweet
the bow.
beer.
Yeah.
That craft beer lovers were like, that beer is awesome.
And specifically the high gravity version.
Yeah.
The 13-14% or whatever it was, where it's just like
100%.
give me
I do
something
too.
strong and
I
sweet.
always hated that beer.
They all went towards the sparkling seltzer, the hard seltzers. They all went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I think it's about time we want to listen to some tunes, maybe some tunes from based out of Studio B, not Studio A based tunes, for a few minutes. You about ready to do that? All right. Let me listen to some music, and then we'll come back in a few minutes after that with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by my guests, Libby and Steve Kreider, Adam Vavrick, Adi Hastings, and Carl Clockers. Hello, guys. How are you? Hello. Hey,
We're
everybody.
wonderful.
Good morning.
Never been.
Good morning. So, we're talking before about rare beers, and we're thinking about what we should talk about next. And something that was of interest to some people in the room was talking about collaborations. You know, collaborations, which is something that's been a part of craft beer for a while, but I think they are right now as popular as ever. And I was just kind of curious why collaborations are kind of seeing an upsurge. I certainly have some opinions, but for once I won't start with my own opinion. I'll see why other people think collaborations are popular and a good thing or whatever.
Can we start?
Please, I'd love if you did.
So, as a brewery, and Steve, please help me out here.
I will.
It's a chance for us to learn. It's not only a chance for us to hang out with our friends, but it's a chance for us to learn different procedures, how you hang your boots on the wall, how you hang your tubes for doing the pH levels, for doing the acidity levels, for doing every sort of.
A learning. I brew beer with other brewers
Yeah.
so I can learn what they do. It could be extremely technical, or they have a light switch over there, and I don't have mine there. That's why I brew beer. And when you hang out with you're hanging out with buddies, and you're brewing beer, and you're having a good time.
We've seen breweries that have done beer collaborations where you send a minion over, you get to hang out, snap a picture, and hey, we've done a collaboration together. But we do collaborations where we want to do hands-on, where it starts from the basis of the recipe, the yeast analysis, the grain analysis, to the actual water, to everything. So.
Yeah. I hate seeing collabs where, and I've heard of it, and I've done them, and I don't like it. You show up, you shovel some grain out, you take a picture, and you leave. Oh, we brewed the beer. Oh, I wasn't even there. Yeah, we collabed. Yeah, that's happened. I hate it.
And how do you know that that's going to be the case ahead of time?
No,
or-
because we're all busy and we're all doing a bunch of stuff. And it's tough not cussing.
You're doing a very
I know,
good job.
yeah. It's taking a lot of concentration.
Yeah.
I'm sweating. No, I mean, one of my close buddies in St. Louis, I showed up and we were halfway through the batch when I got there, and I went, "Wow, all right." And we ate Tootsie Rolls and drank. We had a great time. We had a great
Yeah.
time. But one of my best collab, or multiples I've done with a guy in St. Louis, we talked for weeks. How are we going to build the water? I make my own water. Every beer I make, I build my water from scratch. We talk about that. He does too. And then we talked about the yeast, what the yeast is going to taste like if we use this strain and what these hops, and if it's going to be a barrel for months, how long it's going to take. And we really make a beer together. And then you learn a lot. I mean, that's why I love doing it, because I learned so much from other breweries.
And that's for us. A lot of breweries do it for the notoriety. Like, you collab with a certain brewery, you get that publication boost. Like, all of a sudden you're an unknown brewery that collabs with this known brewery, but that's not us.
I'm certain there have been people that have gone to do collaborations just so you get your Instagram handle on their Instagram account and piggyback on their followers. I recognize that that's jaded and cynical as all hell.
Oh,
but
that is 100%. I appreciate
And you
that,
can tell. I mean, you can see certain breweries and then say, oh, they do a lot of collaborations with all other breweries that are of a certain kind of run in certain
Prestige.
circles. Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay. And even like certain types of prestige brewers. Like, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but other breweries who kind of seem to be doing it for the same reason. I don't know.
It gets kind of clicky. There's definitely
The
some
one
cool
percenters
kids going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that. No, it's not fun.
Yeah.
If we're gonna make beer, we're gonna make beer. Really make beer.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I always, while we're doing it, I go, I got to take the picture. You take a picture of me shoveling grain, and I'll. God, it's hard not cussing. And I'll post this darn thing, and I don't want to do that. I don't have to tell you or him or somebody else that I brewed a beer with them. I don't care. We're making beer, and hopefully it's really good. I was in Florida brewing with some people down there, and they wanted to learn a lot from me, like I know anything. And the guy loved me. I loved him. I learned a lot from them. It was weird. They're new. They're young. They thought I'd make great beer. They're not right. They're not smart. But I learned a lot from them, but just watching them, what they were doing with this little bitty small brew house in a little gas station down in Florida. And I learned more than they learned from me. And I loved it. I loved it. And nobody's ever going to know about it because it's a small amount of beer.
Small place and
man,
down
it
in
was a
Florida.
great time.
We're not going to pass that on your
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media. It's not going to be.
It's weird to me that you're going to do it just for the marketing. It's a marketing thing for a lot of companies, I guess.
Yeah,
and
for the Instagram.
If you, that's fine. And I'm not trying to be an outsider or whatever. I don't know. What
Tell me more about a Florida brewery that's working in a gas station.
Oh, that's not it.
Mastery Brewing
Yeah?
out of St. Petersburg.
All right.
Oh, yeah, we know
They're
them.
incredible.
Yes.
They have Fooders Crafter Fooders.
They make good beer.
They're super tiny and they're incredible. They invited us down.
I'm more than a little bit fascinated with the concept of like barbecue restaurants and gas stations in the South, and that's so in line with all of that. I love it.
They weren't into it for any sort of prestige. They just wanted to learn from Steve and learn how Steve brewed and learn his methods. And that's the only way that Steve will brew with somebody, and not for... Steve doesn't want to brew to make his name. And that's one of the reasons why I love him. One of the many reasons why I love him. He doesn't want prestige. He wants to learn. He wants to brew with people just so he can learn. And Mastery Brewing down in St. Petersburg, Florida. He traveled down there for like a 48-hour trip. Literally, he brewed, came right back, and...
Brewed at Boulevard. And the coolest thing I did brewing this batch of beer was learning... They have little pegs welded on their little steel poles welded on their fermenter legs. You put the bucket on, so the bucket drains out of water and dries up. Loved it. Greatest thing in the world. better than the beer we made. I loved it. It was awesome. Just dumb stuff like that. Yes.
Very cool. How about you, Vav? You've done a whole bunch of collaborations. One of which
Award-winning collaborations.
Award-winning collaborations.
Yep. I love doing them.
And you've done them for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, arguably going back to the Sam's Wines and Spirits days. I mean, one of the first beer trip I ever took in the beer industry was in the summer of either 08 or 09, because Sam's and Lagunitas had collaborated on a beer, two of them actually, and it was sort of like a co-bottling thing on a batch, but and it was before I was around, but I got to go on the trip and it was great, and I loved that collaborative aspect of it, and I've always kind of carried that with me because it's interesting. And then after leaving Vinny's and going on to Octopi and having a really distinct I worked in a brewery, so I was physically working with helping graining out and creating recipes, and these were all things that I'd done on a small scale in home brewing, and that I got to do a little bit on the large scale in the brewery. It turns out I really do enjoy the production aspect of it. But I don't like doing it all the time. And, there's no way I'm going to open up a brewery anytime soon. So this allows me to get out of the restaurant and go and make beer with people. And, the partners and One-Off in general have been really cool about letting me do it. I mean, the Firestone Walker beer that won the medal, that was three total trips back and forth to Buellton to pick barrels for blending, and then go back and zest and juice 1,000 pounds of fruit, and then go back again and release it. Or when I was in Europe, I made beer with Sebastian at Freigeist, and I brewed with all kinds of other people. Local, I have, I think, 4 or 5 collabs lined up for 2019, so I'll be flying all over the country again to go make beer. And at the end of the day, it's not just a selfish. I'm sorry.
Nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, I heard it.
Just a small callback. So we'll explain later.
Okay. But anyway, well, now I lost my train of thought.
You're saying you're going all over the country again in 2019 to do collaborations.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What it does is it's not only fun, and it's not just this weird selfish need to create, but it also allows us to offer something to the guest that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, I'm buying the entirety of these batches for the most part. So, for a brewery that might make 30 barrels of beer or 20 barrels of beer or whatever, if they're going to sell 10 at their tap room or locally to their good accounts, I'm going to buy the rest of it. And if that's a brewery that is looking to move the needle on whatever numbers they need in the Chicago market, that incentivizes them to do it. I think it's very fair and equitable for me to carry beer from breweries that I'm working with for these reasons. I think that's that seems only fair, and these relationships are pretty cool. And I don't know, everybody I've worked with so far kind of trusts me to sort of, for the most part, to kind of lead the charge, and everything's come out pretty good. So I like doing them. I think they're really fun, they're interesting, and they offer our guests something that they just can't get otherwise without having to spend a couple $1 million and open a brewery and be really annoyed by everything. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I've done a number of collaborations, mostly with the guys at Maplewood, because I know them and I'm friends with them, and we talk about beer. Like we talk for like weeks about what we're gonna do, and on the other hand, I get invitations all the time, and it's usually fishing for free yeast, which I'm like,
come brew with me every week if you want.
Yeah, it's like I'm like, yeah, no. From a consumer's perspective, though, I think collaborations can be really cool. A lot of times, it's stuff like a brewery that is totally out of distro in wherever you live, like collaborates with a local brewery, and you can get a sense of depending on how the collaboration went, hopefully. But you get a sense of what they're about, and try a beer that they had a hand in making, and for a consumer, that's really cool. I mean, it's.
I did do that for Selfishly in Scandinavia. Brew with a couple of breweries over there, but I got to go to Scandinavia, Denmark or Sweden, and brew with these guys. Had a great time. But I had future plans on selling beer, and I met with distributors that said you got to do this. You just can't show up Second Shift or Joe Blow's Brewing, show up in our countries, and expect to sell beer. They are extremely savvy beer dorks over there, way more than we are. They are nutty. I don't know who's been over there and watched this stuff. They are insane.
Mickler.
Yeah, no, just the people at the beer fest. They're just, they show up. It's a long,
Yeah.
They are 10 times what we are as beer, as far as beer dorks. Went over to brew with 3 or 4 or 5 breweries over there, and I had a great time, and I love
A
it.
lot, yeah.
But I want to sell beer over there, so like I said, it's a selfish reason. Me and my wife had to go on a business trip now to check on accounts.
But it's also a good point that there are, other than just marketing, it is kind of for business reasons to test the waters or introduce yourself to another market, or even if it's just like, hey, maybe someday I'll be in Southern California.
Sure.
I'll go do one with Lost Abbey or Pizza Port or something like that. Just kind of an interesting way to get into a market for a little bit and kind of get your name out there potentially.
Carl, you pay attention. Carl, you pay attention
There we
to
go.
labels a lot, and you guys do that roundup of labels. Have you seen an increase, like a measurable increase in the amount of collaboration beers that that have been coming through in package, or
No.
Can you speak to that at all? No.
No, by
Cool,
and large,
thanks.
it's back to you, Chris. No, I am sure most of that just goes straight out of all out of the tap rooms, all on draft. There's no reason to put it in a package 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, that's also an interesting point about this. With the much talked about taproom laws changing here in Illinois, a lot of breweries do make beer with their friends and can now bring their beer in, not only stuff that they've made with them, but also potentially small drops of beer that isn't necessarily in this market and has no desire to be in this market completely, but can now be sold for an event to release something like this. And that's kind of enticing for any tap room or anybody that's paying attention at a brewery that has a tap room that can say, oh, cool, well, I'm making a beer with these guys. I'll bring in 10 kegs of everything else too and have a big party and blow it out.
Right, like, hey, we're now being poured at so-and-so brewery who's, again, a marketing thing. Like, you're kind of associating yourself with that brand, and that's like a good thing. It's like being poured at a really, exclusive tap room before the death of Cool, anyway.
Have you decided to do any? You really haven't dipped your toes in the water too much, have you?
We were invited to do the Sierra Nevada Beer Camp, if you would consider that collab.
That is really cool because that's always breweries and not.
Yeah, it's brewers. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so we did that.
That beer turned out really nicely.
Yeah, so we did a Kolsch and with some Nelson in there because I didn't know there was such a thing in the States as whole cone Nelson. And they're like, oh, yeah, we've got a bale. We're trying to get rid of it. I was like, all right.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay, let's do some Nelson. Let's throw some Nelson on that Kolsch. And, so that was the first time we'd ever done anything. Now, it was definitely... there was some collaboration there. But, it was... I don't know. For me, it's very odd. I feel very awkward about collaborating because I don't have any technical chops. So I'm thinking like,
Listen, here's Sierra Nevada. Here's how you're going to brew.
Right. I was like, if
You've
Sierra
been screwing
Nevada,
everything up. Yeah.
if Sierra Nevada wanted to make a dry hop Kolsch, they could just do it. They don't
Yeah,
need
they don't
me
need
to
to,
tell them to do it. Now the beer turned out. I'm very happy with how the beer turned out. But I don't know. To me, like a collaboration would be something where each person is bringing something to the table, and I don't know if Beer Camp is necessarily hits that mark. I'm proud of the beer, but I don't know if I would call it a collaboration. It's more like, thanks for being a good account. Come into this really sweet boondoggle. We'll make this fun beer. We'll make whatever you want.
And party.
Yeah. But like, if you wanted to put gummy bears in the beer, they're like, just let us know ahead of time if it's not on this ingredient list,
really?
and we're going to get TTB approval. Whatever you want, they'll do.
Oh, wow. All right.
But we didn't want to do anything like
No,
that.
no,
I was
hopefully
kind of,
not, yes.
I was kind of ticked off. We ended up doing a Kolsch. To tell you the truth.
simple, clean, beautiful beer, yeah.
It was nice. I wanted to use Chico yeast. I thought it was offensive that the other
Not
person I was
Chico
with
yeast.
didn't want to use Chico yeast. And I was trying to, in so many ways say that he was being an idiot. But I don't think it was like just so not even in his realm to know, like, you're going to the home of the most like famous American yeast and not using it. Okay, if that's what you want to do, I guess that's not the hill I'm going to die on. But
I would much rather make my fermentation regimen that much more difficult.
yeah, right. But whatever. And they nailed it. I mean, they're super skilled. But yeah, maybe someday I'll do a collab, but I don't know what that would really be. I've had opportunities, and I've just kind of turned them down just because I didn't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because, Steve can't come and see hooks that I have on my fermentation tanks because I don't have anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know what Steve could learn from me, so I don't know how it's a collaborative thing.
I could still learn a lot from you.
I guess.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess. Learn like what a jerk I am, and I can
Yeah,
learn what a
absolutely.
jerk you
There's no
are.
doubt about that.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we have time for maybe one more quick topic. Have you guys seen that the creator of Blue Moon, the brewer who invented Blue Moon for the Sandlot of Coors Sandlot has kind of struck out on his own and has a new beer company, and it's called, what is it called?
So he's on his own now. He left them.
Oh, I believe so.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, he left them about a year ago.
All right.
Yeah, Keith Villa is
Yeah.
his name.
He's
And it's called
great guy.
He's awesome.
Soria, Ceria, C-E-R-I-A, Soria Brewing Company. And it's, I guess he launched Soria Inc., which is a cannabis company. And he's now making a Belgian white ale that's THC infused and is going to be sold at dispensaries. Not at liquor stores, but at, dispensaries.
So I guess it would have to go through the dispensary. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was only a matter of time. So what?
I
How
think
do you get licensed?
I'm thinking about TTB licensing
Yeah.
because federally it's illegal.
Well, it's not an actual beer.
No,
it's
there's no
like
alcohol.
sparkling water with
Oh,
THC.
all
in it.
right,
Yeah.
all right.
That's
So you-
and
all
that's
right, there you
that's
go.
the main problem that I have with
That's
it is
right.
that we're calling it a beer, and even the headline on the Brewbound article
Is
that
it
you're
called
looking
a-
at
is it
calls
called a
it
beer?
a Belgian white ale, and it's probably just kind of weedy water
They're calling
that's carbonated
it
that's infused with THC.
de-alcoholized.
Dealcoholized.
No,
Yeah.
they heat
Or the heat or
alcohol.
vacuum, yeah. And pull off the
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
So they do brew a beer and then either heat it
Wow,
up to
that's even
173
weirder.
or...
That's a lot of effort to get.
It's expensive doing either one of those, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we've all been to that point where we've, been super high and just have this great idea,
Let's do
and then
this.
you just kind of do it. I was really hoping to fit as
I
many
appreciate that,
puns I
yeah.
could put into this segment,
Well, that's why it costs $9 a can.
which
Yeah.
that price is very high.
I get it.
$36 for a 4-pack, yeah. And it's, but the quota is buy-in. But the thing is, you probably would drink one or two the entire night.
Maybe.
Who knows?
But
I-
wait a minute, they're
Who
still
knows?
calling it,
What
it's
is
still
your-
called a beer? Are we
What
calling
is
this
your
an ale?
tolerance level?
It's got some weird. No, I think they're calling it. What are they calling it? A brew.
They're throwing beer.
Non-alcoholic craft beer.
Well,
THC infused non-alcoholic craft beer. And this is weird because we're going to have to really get familiar with this because in
THC
Illinois we're
infused
probably a
non-alcoholic
year
craft
away from having it
What
legal
makes that
in the
different
state,
than a
roughly.
edible?
Yeah.
Give you take?
If you look
Nothing.
at Missouri, we
Yeah,
have
it's a drinkable.
legally-
Drinkable, yeah.
yeah.
No difference, really.
My understanding is that it comes on faster than an edible, but otherwise the
liquid. All
same
right.
Bloodstream
concept. You're
absorption
not-
makes
you're
sense, yeah.
Not
It's the same
smoking
thing.
versus
I just
It's
might
different
have
kind of
a
ingestion.
problem. It doesn't matter to me really, but I don't want to call it a beer or a brew or an ale or a lager because it's not. I'm assuming there's no alcohol in it.
I mean,
right?
most of them are sparkling water with
Stuff.
some sort of hop infusion. I think that's the Lagunitas one, is that they've got sparkling water infused with hops, and it's got THC in it. And I feel like that's probably what we're going to see the most of. This from the description of it, sounds like they're actually going through a lot of effort to put together something that seems like a beer.
They're
which, again,
de-alcoholizing it.
I'm interested in trying. I don't particularly like weed, even. That's why I write about
That's
beer.
a devil's weed.
most of the
Nobody
time.
believes you right now.
But it's worth a shot, you know? This is a brave new world that we're in.
Let me just break it down, Steve, like why this is happening. Essentially, by infusing a great tasting craft beer with THC will empower all adults over the age of 21 to tap into the magic of cannabis through this new spin on a Belgian classic. I mean, that says it all, right?
I keep hearing beer and that all that descriptors
Yeah.
with some weed in it.
Well, I think
Which
there's,
you can't
there's
do.
other words like empower and,
Sure.
tap into and...
Me too. In
Yeah,
there
right.
also.
So I mean, they're also going to have there's a light lager and an IPA in the works, and they're going to have ranges, I guess, from 2.5 milligrams
IPA,
to 10 milligrams of THC in there. Yeah. So what do you guys
Yeah,
think? Comes in a. It looks like it comes in an aluminum bottle. I
Those
don't
are
know.
so hot.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
So,
I don't
so you
know.
can serve it at the Rockies games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen, you know?
You think?
certainly. Yeah,
Give
yeah, I
it
bet
within,
so.
inside of 3 years.
Yeah.
I bet so.
Yeah. I think the best thing about the brand that this guy's putting together is that from the stories that I've read, his explicit goal is to pass on everything he knows about brewing beer to his daughter and let her take the company and run with it.
Yeah.
And do whatever she's going to do. That part is great. Selling weed beer, you know, that's fine. I'm sure it'll make money.
Probably
Everyone-
more
water.
than beer money. What'd you say?
Weed water.
Weed
Yeah,
water.
I know, because I hate to call it a beer, because is it a beer? That's what's throwing me off.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't
Do
know.
we have a
Yeah,
picture
who
of it in a
knows?
glass over there? Does it have a
Does it
color
look like beer?
to it?
No, that's a good. You know what? That's a good question, though. Let
it
me
have a
see if I
head
can
to
do a
it?
quick search
Yeah.
and see. Why don't you guys talk about this beer and how interesting it is while I do a Google search?
Type, type.
Not fail.
So it's
fail.
supposed to taste like a Belgian wit, right?
How do you make?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you make it taste like a Belgian wit without making it a beer? Well, you can still put coriander in, and you can.
Well, I mean, what's the process to make it non-alcoholic? Because, like,
There-
is it easier with...
is where they boil it.
Vacuum
can
distill.
boil it,
Yeah,
you can-
yeah,
you
do
can
it under
vacuum
vacuum
distill.
or heat it up to
Yeah.
173 and alcohol goes off.
So you can more or less maintain the character of a Belgian wit, which we
If you do
know
it
he
under
knows how
vacuum,
to
if
make.
you do it under vacuum, when you heat it up to 173, you blow off all the
Okay.
full
You
Okay.
volatilize all-
Yeah,
like
yeah,
most
yeah,
of
yeah.
the good stuff.
So it is conceivable that this could really taste like a decent beer,
I
but
hope.
in a just mess
And
you
it
up
gets you
in a
high.
different
I
way.
mean, they
It's
have
high.
pictures of it. They have pictures of beer on the website. There's pictures of the Blue Moon guy in a cannabis farm, Keith Villa.
All right.
A lot of pictures of like dank buds, and then there's a picture again of the beer, but who knows if that's the actual
So it's
beer
yellow
or
in color with
not.
fizz.
It's just
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it looks like beer. It looks like beer. I think it'll make plenty of. I think it'll make plenty of money. I think people are essentially going to try to infuse THC into anything
Oh, absolutely.
and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
see
Oh, no,
what
absolutely.
sticks.
So, my girlfriend's cousin works at New Belgium, and apparently their Hemperor beer has been selling like gangbusters. And everyone in New Belgium suspects that it's because people think that it's got THC in it.
People
When
think it has weed.
Sure
yeah.
smells
So that and it's just like no, this is just hemp. But yeah, no, this is not far away. I mean, I think there are governmental regulations which prevent the alcohol and THC, so that's not going to happen like super soon. But
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you can eat it, you can drink it. What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's an edible. I'm calling it. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
No, exactly.
consumable.
It's
it
like
could be
the
a soda
like
pop or whatever,
the chews or whatever you
Yeah,
can get,
gummy
you know,
bears or
it's-
whatever you
exactly.
kids are doing nowadays.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever the kids do.
Edibles, and you never need more than one.
Yeah.
I eat 5 cookies and then you die. Yeah.
I also do not actually smoke pot.
Okay.
So
Everyone.
No,
knows
I have
that.
no problem with it. I mean, good for them. They might be the first. They're not going to be the last.
when do we get cocaine back
That's
in
the next
Coca-Cola?
Or in chewing gum.
Valid
At least you
Because
got
it's just-
chewing gum. And,
it's just not the same separate. You know, it's
Yeah. You can do that.
Let me introduce you to something called the Libertarian Party. It all starts there.
I'm not
So let's start
interested in
there.
the age of consent, guys. I need.
Yeah. I mean, that's where this is all going. Don't you understand that this is just the gateway to,
Nice.
heroin toffee?
Heroin, toffee or coffee?
Black tar,
Both.
right?
Yeah.
Black tar is the name
Black
of the brand.
tar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black tar.
It's,
And
it's
then-
it's when these heroin toffee makers do collaborations that are just for Instagram that really drive me crazy.
Yes, I agree. That is when it's gone too far. Get it in there, get strung out, get a picture, and go. I don't even know what I'm shooting up.
But I mean, the barrel-aged heroin toffee
It's-
is really where it's
I hear
at,
that. Well,
you know?
no, it's the barrels that used to hold the tar.
The
That's
third-use
cave age.
tar.
Yeah.
Pitch
Heroin,
lined.
yeah.
Pitch lined.
Excuse me.
Maple
Yeah, it's
syrup,
pitch.
heroin style.
There's pitch in
Yes.
it. Well, I think we've exhausted
Yeah, we're
that
done with
topic,
this,
right?
yes.
I think, okay. I don't know if there's any, I mean, I thought that could maybe go a few minutes, and it barely even did. So we've got about 7 minutes left. I think we can go around the horn with any last comments, anything that people want to talk about. Can't call them plugs because this is, kind of a public radio type deal. But if there's anything you want to let people know about, no calls to action, obviously. But you can just say that something that's going on that if someone was interested, they, could check out. Carl, anything you want to talk about?
My book's been in the world for 50 weeks, which means it's 50 weeks inaccurate at this point, given how quickly everything in Chicago changes. But I'm sure it would be wonderful in stockings in the next, 3-4 weeks.
And what's the
Tis
name of the
season?
What is
You can look it up. It's called Beer Lovers Chicago. It's all about the breweries, brew pubs, beer bars, bottle shops, and all of the wonderful things that make Chicagoland a great place to drink beer.
cool?
Nowhere near a plug. Didn't sound anything like
Yes,
one.
didn't sound like it at all.
Adi, anything? Great new yeast out. It's called a Kvik. And
Yeah, no, I mean, we got lots of new use. But, we've been continuing to brew on the pilot system at work and have a Pilsner, the second iteration lagering. We're dialing in what we're just going to keep brewing Pilsners until my boss tells me to stop. But we're brewing we got a bunch of oak smoked wheat, so we're gonna do a Grodziski next.
oh, cool.
Very excited about that.
There's someone you should talk to. His name's Pat Berger.
Yes.
He
Yes.
does nothing but lagers and smoked beers. You'd get almost got it.
Yep.
All right. Well, who would have guessed that Libby would have
She's worse than me.
dump button Steve?
Yeah.
You almost made it, Sue. You almost made it.
Is this
Adam-
the most dumped episode?
No,
not even close. Okay,
Not even close.
Okay.
I can't believe I have not broken yet.
You've been good.
That's good.
You've been
No,
good.
no, I like never in all the times I've been on here,
That's
I've never
great.
done it, and
I think like twice. I've done it maybe twice. I think
yeah,
I've had to dump myself, but
nice.
yeah, there's no innuendo there. Adam, anything you would like to talk about?
There's this really great band called the Black Queen. That is Greg from Dillinger Escape Plan, Josh, Eustace, Telephone, Tel Aviv, and former Nine Inch Nails, and Steve Ryan, this awesome dude who used to tech for Nine Inch Nails and Kesha. They have their sophomore record out called Infinite Games, which is super fantastic. And they're going on a U.S. tour. They just got back from Europe a couple weeks ago, and they just announced their U.S. tour. And so tickets go on sale for all that stuff tomorrow in case anybody's ever looking to go to a cool show in 2019. They make really great music. I'm a big fan. That's all I got.
All right, that's good. Steve and Libby or Libby, anyone?
I got to pee.
Okay,
I've been drinking.
That's something. That's something.
No, I don't have anything to add to the story.
Okay,
Yeah,
or just that you want to say. Okay,
No,
I don't know
not-
when you said story. I don't know. If
I'm
you
not going to plug.
literally-
No, I know, but I'm not going to plug anything. Or,
Oh, we don't do plugs here.
Yeah, I totally understand. I would not. I was going to get hair plugs, but I didn't.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good. Not going to plug anything.
there you go.
Good.
Yeah.
For me, you know what? I also won't plug anything. How about that? I hope everyone here has a good FOBAB, except for Adam Vavrick, who
Thanks.
won't be going. I will say farewell to longtime Revolution Brewing, and before that, Goose Island.
Oh, that's right.
Brewing.
Will Turner's leaving.
Will Turner.
really?
That's so huge.
Yeah, he left.
Oh, I
He's
did not know
gone.
that. All right.
Yes, he has left. Adam, this is terrible. Do you remember the name of the brewery that he is going to? It's down by Horse Thief Hollow. I know that. It's
Are you?
down
Are you?
south.
Is
I
this a
don't.
legitimate question?
Carl
or is this-
might.
Are you doing a thing?
It's open
No.
outcry.
It's open outcry.
Oh, there it
Open
is.
outcry,
Okay,
yes.
great. Yeah, that was
I
totally it.
wasn't
I was
sure
about
you
to
were
say
setting
that,
up
and then
or
they
anything.
just took the mic away because we're
And
sharing mics
it
tonight.
was a thing.
Yeah.
It was a thing. I did not know. Yeah, so Open Outcry, getting an amazing brewer in Will Turner, and someone who's been instrumental to the Chicago beer scene. So
cask
I wish
beer
him,
scene too.
Yeah, wish him luck. As soon as I heard that he was leaving, I reached out to Revolution and said, "Is the cask beer going to suffer? Who's going to be doing the cask beer now? What's the deal with the cask beer?" Because he is like cask
the man.
beer master
Yeah.
of Chicago. So Will, wish you all the best luck. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys. I want to thank my guests, Steve and Libby Kreider, who kept it mostly clean. Okay, well,
Sorry.
not really cool, but whatever.
Sorry.
Adi, you're not sorry. And Carl Clockers. So thank you guys so much. We will see you next week for more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. So long.